All right, so you ever wonder how these huge, massive companies keep track of every single penny? I mean, from a cup of coffee to a multi-million dollar factory, it all comes down to these incredibly powerful systems. And today, we're talking about one of the biggest, SAP. We're going to pull back the curtain and follow the journey of a single transaction right from the very beginning to the very end. They do it using these really sophisticated systems like SAP, where every single financial move gets tracked meticulously. Now, the key to understanding this whole complex world isn't trying to learn everything at once. It's about mastering the life cycle of one single transaction. If you can get this right, you'll pretty much understand the backbone of how global finance really works.
So we're going to trace the path of a really simple everyday transaction, paying rent. It's a three-step journey, and it's going to show us the inner workings of SAP. First, we'll post the expense. Then, we're going to verify it in the ledger. And finally, we will clear the payment. Okay, you ready to see how it's done? Let's dive in. Okay, our first task is to get a $5,000 rent expense into our company's books. To do this, we're going to start with SAP's user-friendly screen. It's got transaction code FB50, but a lot of people just call it the Enjoy screen.
So this is it, the FB50 screen. And they call it an Enjoy transaction for a pretty good reason. Everything you need is all in one place. Up at the top, we enter the header details, the date, the currency, and then down below, that's where the real accounting happens. We enter the line items, debiting the rent expense and crediting a payable account. It's super clean.
Now, here's what's really interesting. Professionals, they often use a more powerful classic transaction code, F02. So now let's check out posting the professional way and see how we can unlock the system's core logic.
So the biggest difference here isn't just how it looks, it's all about control. FB50 is simple, yeah, but it's pretty much just for general ledger accounts. F02, on the other hand, is a multi-screen transaction that gives you precise control using this little thing called a posting key. So this posting key, it is absolutely crucial. It's a code, just 2 digits, that tells SAP exactly what kind of entry you're making. It tells it the account type, whether it's a debit or a credit, and even what the screen should look like. It's basically the engine under the hood of the whole system. And this table just illustrates the concept perfectly. To debit a general ledger account, like our rent expense, you use the key 40. And to credit a GL account, like our rent outstanding, you just use the key 50. So simple, but so powerful. So, back in the F02 screen, you have to manually enter that posting key yourself. This might seem like a small thing, but this is what gives you the power to create much more complex transactions than that simple FB50 screen would ever let you do. So, we've posted the expense, but how do we actually confirm the company now has an unpaid bill sitting on its books? Well, we have to run a report to see the line items in our ledger. It's time for checking the ledger. A great way to think about this whole thing is to imagine a digital check register. We've recorded the rent bill, okay? But since we haven't actually paid it yet, it's considered an open item. It's like a check you wrote that hasn't been cashed. The obligation is there, but the money hasn't moved. And here is the proof, right here in the system. We run the line item report, and there it is, our $5,000 rent transaction, just sitting there with a bright red status icon. That little red square means one thing. It's open. It's an unpaid obligation. Okay, the final step in the journey. We have to pay the bill and clear that open item. This is where we complete its journey. So, to do this, we use a specific transaction just for outgoing payments. But here's the critical action. It's not just about sending money. You have to tell SAP exactly which open item this payment is for. This assignment, linking the payment to the bill, is absolutely key. So after we post the payment, we just refresh our report. And look at that. The status icon has changed from that red square to a green check mark. The item is now cleared. The transaction's lifecycle, it's complete. So let's just quickly recap that whole journey. First, we created an obligation, an open payable. Then we saw it sitting in our digital ledger as unpaid. It had that open status. Then we posted the payment and assigned it to clear it out, which finally closed the loop. That single process, that's really the foundation. But it kind of leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? Mastering this one journey is the absolute first step to understanding how these huge global companies manage millions of these transactions every single day.